They think that we will stay asleep forever. And friends, they are wrong, because no, we won't. That should be our new campaign slogan. No, we won't. Many people think that we live in ordinary times, normal times, but yet we don't. The simple fact is that they're shoving things down our throats so fast that we don't even have time to digest the last insanity that they are pushing upon us. Justin Trudeau, this is what we're going to be talking about. Justin Trudeau just slapped the Canadian citizens right across the face. What did he do? Well, it has to do with the national parks, and this is crazy. Just taking the national parks from the citizens of the country and giving them to, let's just say, other people. Also, we just have this genetically modified purple tomato that has been deemed safe. Tested? No, not tested, just recognized as safe. Yes, I'm glad somebody hit that with a rubber stamp. And this is going not to farmers. This is not going to be sold on your store shelves. The seeds are being sold directly to consumers to sow in their own backyards. This is insanity, friends. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are news stories you will definitely not hear out there on the mainstream media. So, we have the tomatoes. We got the Prime Minister of Canada. What has he done now? Well, he has provided free access to the national parks of Canada. No fees, no admission for 1 whole year. You say, well, that sounds pretty good. So everybody gets in for free? No, not Canadian citizens. No, no. People who are not Canadian citizens, yes. Now, if you're visiting, tough luck. No, you need to be like a permanent resident or a refugee, or someone who's not even supposed to be there. Then you get your free 1-year pass. If you just became a citizen this year in 2024, then yes, you can get your free pass. But if you were like born in Canada and you paid taxes all your life, no, you don't get a free pass. Nope. Still costs you $151 in order to get your pass for the year to go to your national parks. Isn't that insane? The people whose parks, they don't belong to them, they get in for free, and the people who own the parks get charged money. Isn't that kind of like backwards? It's like if you get charged rent to live in your own home, but then other people can come in and steal your house from you and they get to stay there for free. It's basically what's happening in other states, right? And the thing is, this will continue on and on until people stand up and say, no, we won't, right? No, we won't. When you get used to saying it, we had that campaign slogan, yes, we can. Well, maybe it should be, no, you won't. I don't know. Maybe that's what we should be chanting on the streets when they start throwing their hissy fits and saying that they can overthrow our government and do all sorts of stuff to us and we can't push back in any way. No, you can't. I don't know. Let me know which of those slogans you guys like the best, or maybe there's a better iteration of it. We need to get some signs and stuff, or maybe some T-shirts. But so we got the Prime Minister Castro, named in honor of his father, who is not the guy that we're often told he is. Castro down in Cuba. Right? If you don't know that story, definitely one to Google. You'll probably get hit with some, fact checks along the way, but the truth is that he looks an awful lot like somebody else who was a dictator down there in Cuba. And his mother spent a bunch of time with that guy, and yeah. Anyway, so first major GMO that ordinary people like you and I can buy. Now, I know a lot of people are out there, they see GMO everywhere. And first off, GMOs are genetically modified, so we have this, the problem is that people think that they're everywhere, and they're not. There's certain crops that do have GMOs, of course, wheat, corn. But there are like potatoes. There's no GMO potatoes, or at least not in the mainstream yet. So they'll put a big sign up saying like non-GMO potatoes. It's like, well, la-di-da, everyone's potatoes are non-GMO. I mean, that's just the way it is. And then you start looking across the board. So when you take two kinds of potatoes and you crossbreed them and you do it like the old traditional way, that's not GMO, okay? It's GMO when you start editing, when you get your little computer and splicing stuff and creating these hybrid Franken crops. You don't know what's happening. So the first major GMO to go out there is these purple tomatoes. Now, these were approved over in the UK, and the United States is kind of like, we don't know if we should approve them. Well, they just decided to rubber stamp them. They didn't test them. They didn't inspect them. They didn't be like, hey, is this unhealthy for people? Is this like toxic? We don't know. We're just going to, in the words of the FDA, generally recognized as safe, which means, we haven't heard anything and we're not really listening, so we're just going to just pretend these things are safe. So we don't have to actually do anything with them. The U.S. Department of Agriculture deregulated them. Why? Because they weren't a health risk? Well, no. Because they deemed that they're not an invasive species. Heck, they could be poisonous. They don't know. They're not getting there. They're just like, it's tomatoes and they're not invasive, so yeah, you can bring them in. And that's all the USDA said, was just like, as long as it won't take over and start, turning into tumbleweeds across the West or something like that. And the FDA is like, we haven't heard anything bad about them, Until we start getting lots of people dying from them, we won't actually do anything about that. Now, these purple tomatoes, they went in there and they edited genes. They were like, these tomatoes, that's interesting. Well, we got these genes in blackberries and blueberries. What if we just activate those genes on this tomato plant? That's what they did. There's like, they'll make them blue and maybe they'll have like antioxidants. It'll be so cool. You know when you see a kid playing with a toy that's way beyond their maturity level to be playing with? A 5-year-old is getting in the car to drive. My best friend, when I was 5 years old, actually did get in the car and release the parking brake. And I remember watching him rolling down the street in the car with the doors locked, and his mother chasing after him, trying to get him to unlock the doors. And they eventually hit a telephone pole. It wasn't like going super fast, but it burned itself upon my impressionable mind. 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds should not be driving cars. I think we can all agree on that. But what? These scientists with their lab coats and stuff, they really shouldn't be editing genes. Genes that they think they know what they do. They're just sitting there pressing buttons and seeing what happens. Well, what happens if your button pressing does more than you think it does? What happens if it starts a process of continuing change? Or maybe it means that second, third, fourth generations down the line are going to be a little bit different. Like maybe a little bit more toxic. You don't know. You're just sitting there pushing buttons. There's no labels on the buttons. You're just pushing them and like, well, let's see what this does. This is edible and this is edible, so why can't we just push these buttons over here and make it half a banana and half of a tomato? Like, why not? Let's just do that. Well, it could be toxic. That's why. I don't know if you know anything about tomatoes, but they're part of the nightshade family. There's a lot of other varieties of species that are very close to tomatoes that are, poisonous. This is why you can't just pick the leaves off the tomato and just start eating them. Toxic. Certain parts of the plant are toxic. That's not good. You don't play with those genes, because all it takes is one little boo-boo and the toxic stuff ends up in the wrong part of the plant, and we get a whole bunch of people having some health problems. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody in a lab coat caused a whole bunch of people health problems, and they have the FDA and the USDA covering up for them. It'd be the first time this year, maybe. Nah, probably not. Yeah, we've already seen enough this year, haven't we? Stuff kind of getting leaked out there, stuff that we're not allowed to talk about here on this platform, right? That British company that did all those that kind of stuff, they pulled their product. Yeah, why'd they pull their product? Turns out it was dangerous. They admitted that it was actually causing these problems, serious health concerns, which we were assured there were none. Definitely, you're insane. You're a conspiracy theorist if you think that there's some sort of health problems here. I mean, like, that's just, you're a cuckoo person. A couple of years later, suddenly, oh look, the company's admitting it, and the government is quietly starting to admit it as well. Friends, these people, they don't know what they're doing. And that was my concern at the very get-go. I mean, when it first came out, the whole PATs, I actually wasn't opposed to them. I was, if I had been required to get it, I probably would have gotten it right at first. But, you know, part of me was said, there's no urgency, there's no rush on this. You're not traveling overseas just yet, so why don't you wait just a little bit? You're not in any danger, so just give it a little bit. Wait a little bit. Just see what happens. And as I waited and watched, I became more and more convinced that this is a really bad idea. Because when people aren't allowed to ask questions, you know there's something to hide. That's the truth. When people aren't allowed to ask questions, there is something to hide. Now, there's sometimes good reason to hide stuff. But, you know, I'm entitled to my choice, you know, for me. And you're entitled to your choice for you. And we can't choose if we're not being given the facts, if we're not allowed to get access to the facts. I don't know whether strapping somebody down and forcing them is fundamentally different than lying to somebody who trusts you into doing what you want them to do. Is it? Coercing them? Putting pressure on them until they comply? It's just a psychological version of those straps, isn't it? It's basically the same thing. You're applying force one way or another. You're applying unjust and illegal force upon somebody. And that's what we experienced. We saw it all. If you didn't jump on the bandwagon and line up, you saw firsthand how you were harassed and mocked, belittled. And if you jumped on the bandwagon at first, maybe at first you're like, okay, that's all settled. And then they're like, hey, let's do that again. And maybe you were on board for the second time. What are we on, like 8 now? 9? I don't know. I don't think anyone's on the bandwagon anymore except for the people protesting out in front of the college campuses. Those kids will do anything. They'll do anything you tell them. It's absolutely insane. And some of the stuff that they're being fed at these protests and uprisings is really, truly troubling. What they're being told. That it's not enough to slap a bumper sticker on your car. You need to back up your words with physical force. That's what they're being told by their teachers and by the organizers of these events. It's not enough to just speak out. You have to back it up with force, or else you don't really mean it. That's troubling, isn't it? Friends, I don't want to be anywhere near downtown city And I don't want to be anywhere near these people who are on board with this stuff. I don't think we're going to be the ones starting this. But friends, as has been said many times over, I think they're going to find that a lot of us are a lot more prepared than they think we are. We're going to rain down upon them things that they can't even imagine. And I'm sorry, but their little pepper sprays and their whistles are not going to do them any good. When they finally push people to the point where we say, no, you won't. They say, yes, we can. And we say, no, you won't. Right? All right, friends. Well, thanks for joining us. And just let us know down in the comments what you're thinking about. Obviously, let us only know the things that are appropriate to be putting out here with your name attached to it and IP addresses and stuff like that. But just let us know what you're thinking. Where's this going next? And when do you think people are going to be like, no? Just no. People are going to put their foot down sooner or later, and the question is where? If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.